yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one.
Yeah, man.
I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and we got the crew together today. Should be an excellent show plus one. Welcome to episode 793 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora. All things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, filming from our home studios and sending a signal live, KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper in a beautiful home at Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, let's bring everybody in the crew on board. While we're doing that, I will say today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting, educational consulting, and data analytics. While I was doing that, Mike, it's good to have you back, homeboy. How are you doing today, Big Mike?
Man, I'm doing good. Tail end down to the weekend and getting geared up into this March Madness. Starting out very, very, very favorable for those of you who wear the purple and gold. Yes, I'm smiling, Chuck. So, absolutely, yes. What
about Coach said you had to get there? Told him Atlanta you had to get there. I don't know if people understood he was talking about basketball too.
Yes, basketball.
He's on the inside.
Well, that's gonna become that song. Going to Atlanta. That's gonna become our national song on the yard.
For sure. With that being said, I have some pictures. I got to go to Dayton and witness history. So I'm glad that I did do it. And so put in a media request. So I literally had one of the best seats in the house, not really bad seats in that arena in Dayton. The Dayton Flyers play their home basketball games. Not only that, Charles right behind the broadcast booth right there, center court, second row back. So got to cut all the action, got to do a little bit of the post-game session, I should say. So that was really nice to do that, but it was good. It was a good trip. Flew out of Houston early in the morning, long days, I will say that. So wasn't cheering, but my voice, I guess, with the long days is messing with me, and my body is saying, hey, slow your butt down. And I got to get back on the road next week, so it'll be interesting to see how that is going. But with that being said, Charles, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. I think I caught my breath after last week's SWAC tournament. We did a tremendous job down there at the SWAC tournament. I'm sorry couldn't be with you guys on Tuesday this past week because with Texas Southern baseball, but we rolled right into baseball now, and but we still got basketball being played. So kudos to Prairie View and Howard, Tennessee State, everybody getting it done. And let me give a quick shout out to Coach Eli Gallego. He stopped by my class today, Texas Southern's baseball coach, and talked to my class today about how he kind of came up through the profession and answered. I think he was supposed to be there for maybe just 5-10 minutes and ended up staying for about 40 minutes. So the class was really engaged with him today. So very appreciative of Coach Gallego stopping by.
Good stuff. Credit to that. Getting it done in the classroom out. I see you, Charles. 80 Drew, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm still getting over the high that you and Mike are currently on while your team is still playing. But let me warn y'all, when the end comes, you will crash. It will come and you will come down. You will come down so hard. And you will wake up and it's like, I ain't got nothing to do. Nothing but to come to basketball. And it's just like I don't know. It's almost like that fiend or the alcoholic or whatever. When you take that drug away from them called basketball, they gonna crash and go ahead and tell y'all significant others now. When this comes to an end, baby, you might want to give me a day or two before you ask me to do something because I don't want to have to snap at you.
I hear you. Very well said. Let me get into this first one. Black College Invitational Championship.
Oh,
B2 schools. And then we'll get into those pictures.
right.
The HBCU postseason landscape will once again feature another opportunity for teams to continue their season as the field is set for the second BCIC. Black College Invitational Championship is a postseason showcase for programs that did not qualify for NCAA tournaments. Will take place March 26th to the 29th at Virginia State University in the Multi-Purpose Center in Petersburg, I should say, Virginia, right outside of Richmond. The BCIC gives several standout HBCU programs a chance to extend their season while competing for a national-style postseason title. This year's BCIC bracket features 8 teams across men's and women's Division II fields, representing multiple HBCU conferences on the men's side as well as the women's side. The tournament will feature on the men's side Bluefield State, Central State, Virginia State, and Edward Waters. Bluefield State and Central State will square off in one semifinals, while host Virginia State will meet Edward Waters in the other. Both games are scheduled for Friday evening, with the winners advancing to the championship matchup. For several of these programs, the BCIC provides a meaningful postseason stage after strong seasons that fell short of an NCAA tournament berth. Central State and Edward Waters enters the event with experienced rosters capable of making a deep run, while Virginia State will also have an added benefit of playing in front of a home crowd inside the multipurpose center, giving the Trojans the opportunity to leverage home court energy in the pursuit of this title. So just want to make sure I give a shout out to that is coming up next week. I'm scheduled to make that event. We'll see if body hold up to make sure I can do that. But on the women's HBCU programs competing for the BCI title, the women's BCI bracket also features 4 teams seeking a postseason crown. The matchups includes Virginia State versus Benedict College and Bowie State versus Central State. The winners will meet in the championship round later in the weekend. There's also consolation game for those that don't get into the championship game. So it'll be fascinating to see how that. It's the second year of this event, as the inaugural was last year in Charlotte, that I also was able to get to as I serve on the committee for that program. Exciting to see where that's going. But let me go back to you, AD. As I said, pull up some of those pictures.
Since you covered that, and there's one story on our sheet that I cannot touch, for obvious reasons. Can we talk about the fact that the NIT is no more for men's basketball?
Yep.
Can we have that discussion?
Wow. I saw that. I was like, wow.
Despite the fact that Bethune-Cookman fell short in the tournament, excellent regular season. In the MEAC, you had Norfolk State and Morgan State who had excellent years, but I think it's such a tragedy. Florida A&M also in the SWAC, but maybe not as much so as FAMU as Bethune-Cookman. But the fact that they did not have an opportunity to play in at least in the NIT, or there's no other minor minor tournaments out there for these teams to have those postseason opportunities. As you talk about the BCIC on the Division II level for those who did not make it. And it's I just my point of personal privilege saying it's a damn shame that we couldn't get HBCUs into some of these other tournaments.
It's a good point when you talk about NIT, which no longer takes the automatic regular season championship as they still do on the women's side if they do not make the NCAA tournament. And then you had the CBI that is talking about taking at least college basketball insiders taking a year off. We'll see if they're able to come back. And last year we lost the CIT. So just as those tournaments exploded with providing a lot of teams, which include HBCUs with opportunities, they are coming down. So you're right when you talk about lack of opportunities at the opportunity. But we'll see if we can step in that for the Black College Invitational. But there's another thing that's intriguing that's out there with the transfer portal. I think that's running some havoc on that when there are some coaches and, frankly, some ADs, VPs of athletics that would like to support their basketball teams in terms of going to postseason participation outside of the NCAA. But the players are not looking forward to that. They are opting not to continue to play in postseason and forego that and go into the portal or just finish off their careers. Some of them or no longer have eligibility in terms of graduation. Instead of taking another tournament, they're saying appreciate it as they're moving on. So it's fascinating to see how those are kind of colliding and where we are in this space now. We'll have to keep our eyes on it, certainly keep up and see what that looks like. It does mean in some spaces where door closes, there might be an opportunity for some other individuals out there to figure out how can they make it work. We'll see what that looks like as well. Mike, what are your thoughts?
I'm still on the NIT and the other cancellation, but I mean I guess all things I guess I want a deeper why, and I'm sure you have a deeper inside doc or maybe UCB on kind of the why, but that just that they don't take the automatic whatever, but I share the same feelings as AD does.
No, let me make sure I clear that. It's not that they don't take the automatic. It's not offered anymore. The NIT no longer, when they restructured and it moved away from its autonomous and came under NCAA, they restructured and decided on the men's side that they were not going to require the NIT to take a team that finished the regular season that didn't get a bid to the tournament. So it is essentially all open seating. So there's not a choice. What I was referring to is there are some student athletes. There are some other tournaments like the CBI, CIT last year and this year. You see them when it was still operational for the CBI, I should say, that some players couldn't fill a roster enough to compete in the tournament. Players that went in the portal. So you're talking about having 4 or 5 players left on your roster.
I got you. Okay. All right.
I provide a little clarity to that in terms of what that looks like. So I wasn't clear on that.
So, but I would be remiss if we didn't give the 3, Division I HBCU women's basketball programs their kudos for, earning postseason bids to the women's, and that's with Alcorn State, Maryland Eastern Shore, and Norfolk State for making the field. So Alcorn State was 17-12, 17-13, and they secured an automatic qualifier spot as a SWAC's WNIT representative. And then for the first time in school history, Alcorn State's women's basketball hosts the opening round of the Women's National Invitational Tournament. So, and then, this represents the 3rd postseason appearance for all time for Alcorn State. So kudos to them. And, and then I think it was the first time since their 2004-05 year under legendary coach Shirley A. Gibbs Walker. So that season, the Braves took on Michigan State in the NCAA tournament after claiming the Southwest Athletic Conference. So kudos to them and the other team. So on a good year on at least the 3 women's teams being selected to the WNIT going forward. So I didn't want to at least take away the attention from them.
I don't know if you was going to mention it, and I don't know if Charles was going to get to it. Did you forget about Alabama A&M in the WBIT?
Yeah.
Alabama A&M is in the WBIT.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask a question. I guess I could ask it after we come back from break. But I am curious in terms of with the expansion of the NCAA tournament field, what has that done to mid-majors in terms of opportunities? And I think G. Boone, he asked the question as well. But I did want to, I guess, sort of ask that question, and we can.
You talking about if the NCAA decides to expand, because it's still at the 68.
It went from 64 to 68.
But going from 64 to 68, how in addition to the transfer portal, how much has that, sort of hampered, the tournaments outside of the NCAA in terms of getting quality competition to come to their tournament, whether you're talking about the NIT or CBI or whatever the case might be?
I don't think it did much, because the NCAA has been at 68 for a while, and those tournaments were flourishing during that same period of time. So I don't think you had much challenge. I think when they were talking about doing the field where they were going to pay the players, and they were looking at the Las Vegas, there may have been some interest there. You may have gotten what we talk about just in general economics, where you had maybe too many postseason tournaments, or all trying to chase after the same amount of teams. That may have been a slightly more of an issue. I think the biggest issue was just the financial cost on putting on a tournament and what they were not able to get in terms of television broadcast interest, or what the broadcasts were paying for them enough to pay the cost associated. Now, some of these models that they had, though, they actually would charge the schools to participate. I'm not sure how many people were familiar with that until you got to like a championship game, and then all your expenses would be paid. And so, again, a lot of this was reward for mid-major and low majors, some people like to call them, programs that were not getting invitations to NCAA if they didn't win the tournament. So you had a lot of those that had interest in playing, participating. I think, again, the bigger concern that's coming in here is the transfer portal. Everything was working, for the most part, to the transfer portal. I do think there was some costing structure as some of the programs like the CBI, I think there's some framework out there that maybe there's some schools that didn't get paid what they were supposed to get paid for hosting the game, things of that nature. So I think there were some hosting models that were in place more than it was expansion of the tournament in terms of 4 teams. Because really, when they talked about the 4-team expansion, it was only 2 teams that they were bringing in that were from the outside in terms of the field. Because 2 of the teams were 16 seeds that they slid down there, 15 seeds that became 16 seeds. So at the most, you're talking about really 2 major division programs that were slotting into that. Then you had 2 maybe mid-major programs that were slotting into that. Losing that many teams is not going to make the difference in terms of the tournament. So there's some things there. Let's take our first break, come back on the other side. If you would, Drew, bring up those pictures. I'll talk a little bit about the trip to Dayton. Then we'll get into the women's top 5 major division, see what is going on there, and see your thoughts there. This is myself, as you see, Ed Drayden, Roosevelt.
Mike motley-looking crew.
As we were there on Prairie View together. So that's the Dayton Arena in the background. Let's see if we can get to some other ones. Keep going.
I only was able to download a couple of them. So
okay, just do the ones that you did. This is post game. There with the SWAC MVP. getting done where he had another big game in helping Prairie View Panthers defeat Lehigh in that contest as he got it done. And so just wanted to share a little bit. There's one I think that's certainly that's from Atlanta. Gotta get there.
We can take it out on this one, Doc.
All right.
Council of Governors and Chancellors, we congratulate Coach Byron Smith and the Caribbean Panthers on a wonderful season.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically Black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU stories with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
Are you hungry? Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, A.D. Drew, giving you your HBCU news of the week as we start to close this week out. As we get into the women's, we'll find those who have some of them will be playing Southern in terms of the first four on the women's side. Obviously, Howard got a 14 seed, so it'll be interesting in their matchup as they start things off today and the rest of the week. But you have heard by now that this is the second time over the last 5 years or so where you had both MEAC and SWAC win their first four games. Howard did it on Tuesday and then Prairie View on Wednesday. For the SWAC, this is the fourth time in 5 years, as you talked about Texas Southern getting it done back in 21 and 22. And then you see recently in terms of 24, 25, and now 26, where you have 5 wins in the last 6 years. And good success. Certainly when you talk about the conference office and Charles as the commissioner, so I'm going to show me the money. Some money going in there in terms of those units worth about $2 million this year. So when you get the extra unit, you have a multiplier effect in terms of each round you do that. So to the win go to spoil. And also I know as the SWAC has created a function where the institution that wins the first four actually get a larger share of the percentage of money with that first win that goes to the conference office. So Prairie View should be talking about $1 million from the SWAC championship game, essentially $1 million from the Celebration Bowl, and now $1 million, if you would, from the basketball. Yeah, anywhere from about 2.7 to about 3.2 $5 million. I've always said that that's what you would want to do. A lot of ways, my money was on Ashley as they were kind of running it. They would be the first team to do it, but institution to do it in terms of the success they've had came really close in terms of that. In some ways, just last year, in terms of what took place. But Prairie View did it this year, so fascinating to see that type of history.
How often is it common from when you have like Howard's men and women? Is that historically, is that something?
Yeah, we've seen that a couple of times over the years. Southern did it.
Norfolk just did it recently.
Norfolk did it literally last year.
What was it last year?
Yeah, it was that recent, and they've done it before.
I knew it was recent.
You've done it before. And so you've seen it over the years a couple of times. So it happens, but not that frequently, but frequently enough. There's something in there.
I'll give you one on D2 level. Miles did it on the D2 level a couple of years ago also.
Yeah, Langston has done it.
Langston.
Fayetteville State has done it recently over some years. Yeah. So you see it ever so often. Xavier, in terms of some of the success, they've done it over the period of time. So it's a couple of programs that have their team that get it done. So fascinating when you think about that. So let's get into some more dialogue in terms of what that looks like. I did want to give the statement I told on Saturday, but y'all wasn't here to hear this part. So I will say this before we get in the rankings. Charles, I know you appreciate history like all of you all, but there has been 3 other institutions that have won a regular season championship and a men's basketball championship in the same year. Going back to 84, some teams have done it in the calendar year, going back to the 60s. But in terms of the academic year that we do the All-Sports Trophy, how we look at it, you have to start with Alcorn State in 1984. They did it in football. They did it in men's basketball. And what's important in terms of when they did it, they also won the tournament, Charles. I hadn't found a record of somebody doing the trilogy in terms of that. Jackson State, 2007, they won football championship. Then they came back and won the basketball championship. Now, that was the era of the SWAC championship game. Mm-hmm. They won the SWAC championship game in terms of they won the Eastern Division, obviously, to play in the SWAC championship game. So wanted to give a little nod there in terms of we're talking about. And then you got Southern University does it in 2013. Where they win the football championship. Obviously, they won the Western Division. And then they win the men's basketball tournament. And then, obviously, this year in 2025, when Prairie View wins the football championship in the men's basketball tournament. So
now we need baseball.
That's the question.
Yeah, I know, fam. You won football and baseball in the same year, but I don't think has anybody ever won all 3. You don't have to do the research on that one.
Yeah, I put some research, some elbow grease for that one for me.
If there's any team that done it, it's going to be Jackson State and Southern.
Yeah,
I was thinking.
You got to remember until Texas Southern busted up things.
Them the only 2 winning baseball.
Those the only 2 in terms of what I would call the modern SWAC history. You go back that, and they lost a lot of those records when you talked about the Texas schools, basically covering the conference. Southern comes in and Langston. You had a little change there, but since the Division I era, it was a 20-some year period where only 2 teams that seemed to want, only 3 teams that seemed to want to win baseball championships: Jackson State, Southern, and Grambling. So those would, your eyes have to think about that in terms of what that looks like. So I want to give a little update in terms of that. Let's get in here and look at these top 5 rankings. Week number 11, as things are moving 5. Dropping out this week, Alcorn State Braves. This was done and released as a Monday. We're showing it to the day, calculated then. So this is after a tough tournament with other teams pushing behind them. Alcorn State Lady Braves, if you would, drop out at 17-13, 14-4. Let's look at those receiving votes. Receiving votes were UMass Hawks, Maryland Eastern Shore, 19-14, 11-3. Alcorn State Braves, 17-13. UAPB Golden Lions, 15-16. Jackson State Tigers, 12-19. And Grambling State Tigers, in terms of their finished final season, was 13-19. Let's get into the top 5. Alcorn State Hornets. The Hornets, as they played for a SWAC championship, finished the season 15-14, 12-6. Kind of we're going back a little bit with Southern and Alabama State in terms of that 5th seed over the last couple of weeks. But after the strong finish in the tournament, the Hornets were able to jump back in the top 5 with 41 points. Bringing us to number 4. Number 4, the Southern Jaguars. They were not ranked in terms of what they jumped in here and got it done, 19-13, 12-6, 50 points, as Alabama State actually was ranked last week as they were number 5. Let's get into number 3. Norfolk State Spartans that finished the season strong after a couple of early losses. Played Howard, could not get back in the tournament. They'd won and dominated the field in the MEAC for some time. Finished the season at 18-14, 11-3. Solid year for the first year head coach over the program, 63 points. They do move up a spot from last week from 4 to 3. Bringing us to number 2. Alabama A&M Bulldogs, 22-10, 17-1, lost in the semifinals to almost a buzzer beater. Southern, they could not get a shot to go as they did have a last shot at it. They have 2 points, 71. They moved for the number 1 ranking this week after they carried it for some period of time. And obviously that means you imagine that the new number 1 is Howard. The Bison get it done 26-7, 13-1. 6 first place votes, 78 points. They move up from the second position. Dave said he told us so. And they get it done. They win the regular season and the tournament. So they hold the number 1 ranking. Let me go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts on the top 5 in week number 11?
I got to move Southern up. I got to get Southern at least at 3. I will swap them out, move Norfolk State up to 2. Alabama A&M will be 4. So it'll be Howard, Southern, Norfolk. I'm sorry, Howard, Norfolk. No, let me back that up. Howard, Southern, Norfolk, then Alabama A&M.
You gonna jump Southern over Alabama A&M because the tournament win after losing 2 at home?
Yeah.
During the regular season, losing 2 to Southern in the regular season.
They won it when they counted. And then we get to the final poll. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Let me go to you, Mike. Interesting. You agree with Charles?
No, I got to agree with CB. I know they lost 2 during the regular season, but they did it when they
Alabama A&M has a regular season championship. You gonna give more credit to the postseason tournament?
Yes, I am. And those 2 losses to Alabama A&M weren't significant. They had 3 and 4 point differentials during the season, so it wasn't like they got beat. So they beat it when they beat it. It was an L. What you mean? They didn't beat it when it counted. So they didn't beat it when it counted. We still talking about Southern, right? So I
thought so. You telling me the regular season doesn't count?
Yes, it counts, but it's factored in, not just counted by itself. It's a factor. It's a data point.
All right.
So
I'll go with that.
I go Howard. I move Southern up over, and then Norfolk. Yes, I go with CB on that one. Yes, I'm being controversial. Deal with it.
AD, what are your thoughts?
We good at 1. But the other four, we got to put them back in and mix them back up. I agree with everybody else. Southern 2. Dr. Cavil. This is a week-to-week poll.
Yes.
Last week, Southern was the best team in the SWAC. Howard was the best team in the BAC. 1, 2. Week-to-week poll. Howard Southern. Number 3. I leave Norfolk at number 3. Why is Norfolk ahead of Howard? Alabama A&M didn't make it to the championship game. Norfolk made it to the championship game. Week-to-week poll. Norfolk ahead of Alabama A&M. You might think you might get that argument would be out of Alabama State, but no, I slide A&M up there at the number 4 spot. But I dropped Alabama State out and moved Maryland Eastern Shore into that last spot.
I agree with it well.
God.
I agree with that one as well.
Y'all have had too much celebration. I don't get it. Because you will say on one hand that the games were close. You all act like the semifinal loss by Alabama A&M was not close.
But it's an L.
It's an L. It goes in the L column.
I'm not saying it wasn't an L, but Mike, I'm talking about Mike's framework was the fact that the games were close during the regular season. But it's not. You don't have to worry about it in the tournament. They close.
Yes, they had 2 losses. I'm just refuting and saying, hey, these were 2 and 3 point losses. It wasn't like it's a big point differential. And when it counted in the championship, you also got that as an additional data point. That's what I'm saying.
So 1 win is greater than 2 wins.
Hey, see, there you go.
In this case,
it carries a lot of weight.
Then you look at the fact that you talk about Norfolk State that didn't beat Howard either anytime.
Can we go to the real
twice? They
got
got drugged by Howard.
You know what the real issue is?
But Norfolk State played.
And your significant other went to Alabama A&M. So you got to justify defending Alabama A&M. I understand.
No, I'm just trying to figure out the logic. I don't get the logic because you got a Norfolk State team that you put in number 2, and they weren't close in any of their games against Howard. So just because they get to a championship game, because they were on the other side of the bracket,
they won when it counted, Dr. Cavil.
Week to week.
Week to week, they won last week.
You tell me week to week, and they won when it counted. Is that not what you tell me?
So you're saying if Southern was a 3rd seed and played Alabama A&M in the championship game, then that would have been different. You wouldn't have Alabama A&M wouldn't have dropped that low because they would have went to the championship game. Yeah. So you're saying it was all based on the seeding. That's the only reason they played them in the semifinal, not the championship game.
But they played in the semifinals based on their regular season. So
exactly,
hey, they got the matchup they needed.
Right. What you're saying is Southern was the 4th seed. They were the lowest seed.
And look what they did this week.
My mind is blown. I'm silent because I've never been this flustered with you all in terms of your inability to talk about a poll ranking and make it sense. Usually you all break things down and you say it, I'll be like, yeah, I can see that. This one, I don't get it. I don't see it. Then you don't even want Alabama State in the poll, and they make it to the championship game. You don't give them the credit to make it to the championship game, but you give Norfolk State credit for making it to the championship game. At least Alabama State, they split with. In fact, Alabama State beat Southern twice in the season.
So you're giving the regular season 3, 4, 8 weeks ago more credit than what they did this week.
Actually, Mike, you need to watch the game. Alabama State played Southern the last weekend of the season before the tournament.
I know, but you said several times during the year, right? So they played how many times?
They beat them both. They went on the road and beat Southern in Baton Rouge.
But listen to what I'm saying. You're going back to whatever date they played during the regular season. Last week, they played probably, I don't know how many weeks ago. I got to look at whatever. And you're giving that more credit than what they did in the championship tournament.
I
Is that
don't,
what you're
no, I'm not
saying?
giving them more credit. I'm trying to figure out why you put Alabama State out the poll.
Why I put them out the poll?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Maryland Eastern Shore had a better overall season, including in the tournament.
Who did Maryland East Shore beat?
They lost to Norfolk in the semis.
A Norfolk team that hadn't beat anybody.
Norfolk?
Who they beat? They lost to Howard all 3 times.
Okay, but they beat everybody else. They beat everybody else, Dr. Cavil.
So you giving Norfolk State credit for beating everybody else, but then you gonna give them Maryland Eastern Shore credit for losing
and they split with Howard. I mean, one of the Bills.
They still in the top 5. It's still a good season with Alabama A&M.
No, I'm talking about Alabama State. We didn't pay. I didn't let y'all make it on Alabama. I'm trying to figure out how you put Alabama State at.
It's my poll, Dr. Cavil. And that's all
I'm going to see if y'all do better for the men's side. I'm going to see if y'all going to do better for the men's side. I'm nervous. I am real nervous. We'll be right back after this next break.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
And we have to fund our kids in these colleges, and we have to make sure our kids have seats in these colleges.
Now, what about HBCUs? You mentioned.
Absolutely. You got to fund them all, and you've got to make sure they're properly funded. You know, the real reason why I went after Comcast and Charter, it didn't have anything to do with my cable networks. It didn't. What happened was a gentleman wanted to do the Black College Sports Network in partnership with the HBCUs. And Comcast did not accept it. And that would have made a lot of money for these black colleges.
Absolutely.
And it would have educated the Black College Sports Network. This is what he wanted to do. That would have educated a lot of black kids. And when they didn't do that, that's when I came off the bench and said, okay, I'm going to light you up like a Christmas tree. Okay. That was the real reason why I got into it, was when I saw what happened with the Black College Sports Network, which I don't own. I just knew.
Why didn't you buy it?
I just knew. I just knew that these black.
I like that talk.
Right? I knew that these black colleges were going to benefit, and these black kids were going to get the education that they deserved and not have to pay.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, and I do not know who I have on the show this week. So I'm a little nervous, but we'll see if we can get it right. I get some more commentary that fits in the second segment. We're going to look at the men's top 5. We gave them a break doing this thing and see if they kind of went back and recalibrate some things. But let's bring up the top 5 on the men's side and see what they have to say about that. With that being said, dropping out this week on the men's side, we have 2. Morgan State Bears, 14-6, 10-4. Had a challenge in the tournament. When these gentlemen say it counted, they didn't get it done. Florida A&M Rattlers, 15-16, 11-7. They fell out. They had a decent run in the tournament, making to the semifinals in their case. But let's get into those receiving votes and see what we have to say about that. Receiving votes, Florida A&M Rattlers right there on the outside of top 5, 15 and 16, 11 and 7. Alabama A&M Bulldogs sit at 18 and 15, 10 and 8. Texas Southern Tigers sit at 12 and 18, 10 and 8. Morgan State Bears that dropped out this week still are in the mix, 14 and 16 and 10 and 4. UAPB, the Golden Lions, essentially finished in top 10, 13 and 19, 10 and 8 in terms of what they did in conference. Let's look at the top 5. Jumping in the top 5, the Southern Jaguars, 17 and 17, 11 and 7, 51 points. Not ranked, they make it all the way to the championship game, where they faced and were ousted by number 4, Prairie View A&M Panthers. 18 and 17 after the first 4 win, they actually moved to 19 and 17, as you see. 9 and 9, 63 points as they were not ranked, but jumped in the top 5. Bringing us to number 3, the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, 17 and 15, 14 and 4, 89 points. They stay in the 3 position. I don't think these guys will allow that for the Wildcats, but we'll see. We'll see. At number 2, you have Howard Bison. Now, this is something I do want to bring you to attention. They take away some of those first place votes from Bethune-Cookman. 24 and 10, 11 and 3. 4 first place votes, 100 points. They remain in the 2 spot. I do want to make this clear that this again came out before the victory we talked about on the show, but this poll ranking was out before the win in the first 4. So we'll see if that win, in combination of what they do in the next matchup against Michigan and what Tennessee State does against Iowa State, will that change the difference as Tennessee State remains number 1, 23 and 9, 15 and 5, with 6 points, 106 points, as they remain number 1 in terms of the ranking. So, with that being said, I'm going to start with you, Charles.
I started last time. I'm waiting to hear.
Well, that's true. I'll give you a break. Let me go to you, AD Drew, since Charles don't want to start it off.
I'm still calculating here.
He wants to see how he's going to get away with what he's talking about this time.
Although we splitting hairs at 1 and 2, I could roll with your 1-2 right now, because whatever argument that you could make for Tennessee State, you could actually also make for Howard. The one argument I have in favor of Tennessee State over Howard is they play 20 conference games versus Howard, who only has 14 conference games in the MEAC. So they won a little bit more. Although I think mathematically Howard's win percentage is just a point or 2 more than Tennessee State's win percentage. That's really the only thing that you might be able to debate about that. But we splitting hairs on 1-2. Now let's go to the bottom portion of this 3, 4, and 5, and I'll go ahead and say this. I think we've got the right 3 down here. Let me think. Who's the SWAC representative in the NCAA tournament?
Pretty much.
I'm just saying. Who did they beat to get to the championship game?
Huh?
I'm just saying.
You said there was a recent head-to-head? What?
All right. Now you gonna split hairs between. Do you put Prairie View above them? Well, thanks, Mike. The recent head-to-head. I'm just saying. I'm saying without saying. So, because I promise you, I want to leave some meat on the bone for these 2. But I'm just saying.
I feel
Who's up next?
I feel you on that, AD. I mean, I what I'm trying to figure out is, if in my head we're week to week. Well, Prairie View carries they carry the banner for this week, and the confetti fell on them this week. They even got the head-to-head victory. So I at least have them above Bethune-Cookman, but now, Doc has put the metric on the regular season champion. So it's like, okay, well, where do we weight it here? Well, I mean, for me, the weight is on that tournament champion.
I got you. And at least on this one, they only played once in the regular season. And Prairie View was on the road, one of the closer games. So I could at least give you a little more room for that one. But Prairie View was number 8 seed. Maybe you're talking about the injuries. You're going to try to sell me on the injuries. But I'm like, all right, let me see what Mike has to say.
Nah, they pretty much took all of the meat. I'll take a little bit of the gristle. Recent head-to-head. They did play once. Bethune did win it, as you alluded to. They were on the road. But to me, your top 3 or 4 have to be the conference championships at the most recent in the tournament. That should be this week in the top 3. That to me catapults, and the head-to-head. I think that catapults Prairie View over Bethune. I agree with all that's been said. So
I'm thinking about taking away y'all rankings. Y'all voting for
Can I throw one other thing in?
Yeah, please do, because I'm out of words. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, let me throw one other thing in Tennessee State's corner. Tennessee State did earn a 15.
Yeah.
Whereas Howard and PV had to play the play-in games. So if there's anything that justifies Tennessee State sitting at the top, is the fact that they were able to earn a 15 seed and not have to play in the play-in game. Although not playing in the play-in game probably cost Tennessee State $2 billion. But that's a different argument though. That we can have. And speaking of Tennessee State, Dr. Cavil, I don't know if y'all saw this story. It may have snuck by you on IG, but guard Aaron and Naruma will forego the NCAA tournament to declare for the 2026 NBA draft. As a junior, he averaged 17.5 points. Now, here's the part you gotta pay attention to. Pay attention to these next 6 or 7 words that I'm getting ready to say. And is widely expected to go undrafted.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just saying, y'all.
Yeah, so that got a lot of people. And they actually had that question come up in the media session. And it's not true. It's actually a parody account. So It got a lot of folks. It's like an April Fool's joke. A lot of those parody accounts do that on purpose. And if you're just reading quickly and you don't look for the details, they can get you. And you're right. If that was what made it parody, because it didn't make any sense. And again, it came up to let you know how big these things are and how real they are. It came up in the official NCAA media session. It was a question about how did he feel in regards to stuff like that happening to him. And he was pretty good because he went to his coach and he said he actually got messages from friends and families like, is this true? Because he hadn't told them. He said, no, that's why y'all don't know. He said, coach was like, that's what happens when you win. And so he took it in good spirits because he getting attention because you're winning now. But yeah, that's a parody account. So I'm glad you brought that up and kind of got it off the fact that y'all are all over the place in these poll rankings. But we do have one final week, and maybe we can bring back to some sanity about what takes place after this week in terms of the major division as we try to get that out. We do have the BCIS championship, so we might stretch it out a little bit, but we'll see how we do that. Last thing before we take our last break. Yep.
Last thing on basketball, Langston plays tomorrow night. Don't forget about them in the AIA tournament.
Right, and that's why we wanted to push all this out. Exactly right. Keep your eyes on that game as you're watching all your HBCU basketball. We'll be right back after this last break and give some final thoughts a little bit on Langston. Do you think they can pull it out? Some of these other games, big underdogs. We'll see what that looks like and see your thoughts on the other side.
Man, I think we got Doc sad with y'all rankings, man. He going out with a sad face, man.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and AD Drew. Let me give you an update from a game that's coming on now, which is Region 4 in Sacramento. First four on the women's side, featuring Southern University and Samford. Southern University is up 27-24 at the half. Let me give you a couple of statistics. They're actually shooting the same field goal percentage at 31%. To get there, the Bulldogs of Samford did 8 for 26, while Southern Jaguars were 10 of 32. It's pretty close from the three-point percentage. With Southern outshooting Stanford 38-33%. That's Southern going 3 of 8 and Stanford 5 of 15. Free throws, only not many shot by Stanford, 3 for 3, 100%, while the Jaguars shot almost 10. They were 4 for 9 for 44%. So not doing too well at the line, or they'd probably have a bigger lead. Some key areas in terms of they're even on the rebounds, 21-21. Blocks, 1-3. Assists. Bulldogs and Samford have more assists, 7-3, while Southern, as you would imagine, in terms of the way they play the game pressing, have more steals, 9-2 in terms of what that looks like. So Southern getting it done in the paint, 6-12 as well. So I wanted to give you some key statistics. Gentlemen, can Southern bring it home?
Absolutely. With the way they play defense, they absolutely can. And then we saw last week, especially in the tournament, players like Jayla Page, as well as Olivia Delancey, they both can get hot, so they can provide the scoring that Southern needs. But just defensively, they smother you so well, and I like them in this matchup against Samford.
Mike, any thoughts? You think Southern can get it done the second half?
Yeah, absolutely not a problem. I think Charles talked to, and I'm kind of keeping an eye on that, and I'm looking at my one of my other favorite stats is rebounds as well, and where they go, and it seems like teams are pretty low, but I think that what all chance, they hit the boards.
Eddie Drew, any final thoughts? Southern get it?
If we get the Southern that played in the SWAC tournament, Yes. If regular season Southern shows up, or we don't know what we gonna get from day to day, game to game, then no.
Mhm.
Good point. Good point. Howard, Ohio State. That's a 14 versus 3 matchup. As you know, on the women's side, you play in the region with the team, so they have the home court advantage a little different there. Makes it a little more challenging, but you do have that 14-3. You have seen some upsets at that, so it'll be fascinating to kind of see what that looks like in terms of the games there. Obviously, you have Florida and Prairie View. Florida was last year's champion. Florida had a pretty good run late in the season, was able to hold on to the number 1 seed, even though they lost in the SEC tournament. And then you have Howard facing Michigan. Michigan lost also in terms of their tournament. We got the regular season and obviously a number 1 seed there. So you know the challenge, number 1. But we did have a close one today with Duke in the number 16 for those that have some hope in terms of what takes place. Obviously, we all remember UMBC and the upset over Virginia, where they came back the next year uniquely and won the national championship to kind of set some records straight. But that's where you are. We talked about Alabama A&M and their matchup. You have Alcorn at home playing this Saturday. Some games to keep your eyes on in terms of what's taking place there. Told you about the CIBC in a couple of weeks. So with that being said, let's switch it just a little bit. First week of conference play took place for the SWAC. AD Drew, I want you to think about anything for the SIAC in terms of baseball, anything that stands out, our team, the two to continue to keep your eyes on. But Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this first week in the SWAC?
Impressive. Texas Southern taking 2 or 3 from Jackson State. Jackson State on the road, but the way they hit the ball over the weekend, they let that third game get away. They were in line to sweep Jackson State, but that was impressive to go 2-1 against Jackson State. The other team that I was paying attention to, which I thought was a great series, was Grambling and Alabama State. Yeah. Grambling able to go 2-1 on the road versus Alabama State. So that was a big statement made over the weekend. And then, Florida A&M and Southern. That was the other series that I was paying attention to. For Florida A&M to go 2-1 against Southern, big, because I think this is sort of a comeback year for Southern. So for Florida A&M kind of stymied that opening weekend.
That was in Tallahassee or Baton Rouge?
Tallahassee. No, it was actually in Baton Rouge, I believe.
So he makes it even more impressive for the Rattlers to go on the road and get 2 out of 3. Mike, any thoughts to kind of conclude what Charles said before we go AD Drew and look a little bit about the SIAC in terms of baseball play there?
Yeah, Bethune has, kind of jumped out to a lead. They have their usual batting prowess. I think their team batting average is 307, which is tops in the SWAC. They had about a 5 or 6 game losing streak, losing to Florida State. I looked at the stats about a week ago, and it had the usual folks at the tops in slugging percentage and pitching. And it's usually Bethune, it's usually Jackson State, and then it's usually Alabama State. Alabama State had some losses, I think, to Grambling, and that knocked them down, and their pitching percentage has gone back up. Usually you see Alabama State at the top in terms of top pitching in the SWAC, and that's going to be crucial as you get deeper into the season. But I find it odd that Bethune is, up to their usual, but you have UAPB at number 2nd, highest, second highest batting average, slugging percentage, and pitching. So that's a big surprise to me.
Yeah, that actually is the other team that I was going to mention. Impressive. UAPB going 3-0 versus Valley last week, but we saw what UAPB could do. I mean, they made it to the SWAC tournament last season, so they're continuing that upward trajectory, and they started off again this past weekend in SWAC play, going 3-0 against Mississippi Valley. So paying attention to what UAPB does. They take on Florida A&M this weekend.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good matchups. See if I can get over there to Texas Southern, see what they're doing. Since you talk about how they started off, be interesting to see them live. With that, AD Drew, anything out of the SIAC in terms of baseball you want to share?
Before I do that, I just got couple quick comments on the SWAC. Dr. Cavil, if you're gonna look for the trifecta with baseball, where Prairie View is off to a slow start, dropping all 3 games this past weekend to to the
Bethune.
Wildcats, but you have to take those losses to Bethune with a grain of salt, since Bethune is since coming to the SWAC has been one of the teams in the SWAC. I mean, I'm gonna
Yeah,
Juggernaut.
yeah, they that beast
yeah.
from the east.
We'll start having a conversation. I'm just gonna put it like that. Yeah, how about this, y'all? How about Alcorn got a win the first weekend? We
Yeah,
know the troubles that Alcorn baseball has had over the last 4 or 5 years or so. So for them
hey,
to pick up
it
a
was
win
who was
against
that?
Alabama
That school was
A&M is saying
that
us something.
school was JD. That school, what was the name? Champion something, Champion Christian College. Where's hold on? Let's put away your anointing oil just yet. Okay.
No, but bro, you know how long was it before Alcorn actually won the game the last couple of years? So that's why I'm
That's
bringing
true.
it out.
That's
The
true. You're
fact that they
right.
won the game the opening weekend is something to note.
I go back to that very opening weekend of baseball. They got a win over Jackson State.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's true. That point right there.
Yeah. All right. Now, switching quickly over to the SIAC. The usual cast of characters are at the top of the SIAC, with Albany State and Spring Hill both tied with an 11-4 record. Miles sitting at third, 1.5 game behind them, 10-4. Savannah State, 1.5 game behind them at 10-5. Did anything I said surprise anybody with them top four in the SIAC? I doubt very seriously if anybody is surprised with those top four. Uh, the
Right.
next group of teams: 5, 6, 7. Edward Waters 9-6. Benedict 10-7. They have Morehouse listed at 8-6. It's actually 8-5. I don't know how a game got counted twice. I've sent the correction into the SIAC, but they have not made that correction yet. So that's your 5, 6, 7, and then you got everybody else battling out for that last spot, 8, 9 on down the line. Lane is 8, Tuskegee 9, Kentucky State is 10, with Lemoyne and Clark and Lander pulling up the rear. Just quickly, I know you guys are looking at the SWAC. You're probably gonna get into the schedule right quick. Series that you have going on in the SIAC this week. Albany State travels to Lane. Edward Waters travels to Kentucky State. Miles and travels to Morehouse. Tuskegee travels to Clark. Lemoyne travels to Benedict. Savannah State travels to Spring Hill. That's the one you want to circle right there. Savannah State and Spring Hill in the SIAC. So those are your matchups. Obviously, those are 3-game sets. So
good call. Good call. Great update in terms of baseball. Obviously, that'll carry today as we kind of close out on basketball. We still have at least a week or maybe 2 before we can close that out. But that being said, again, I wanted to say kudos to Howard Bison in terms of their win, as the legendary Coach Washington would say of A&T, bring me my money.
Yes, indeed.
Special shout out to Lance Williams shutting down the 25-point guard scorer for Lehigh. He put in 10 points as well, but he held him to just 5 points in that game. Obviously, Corey Wells has come out and really played some good basketball. Coach calls him one of the best two-way players in the nation in terms of that, particularly in the SWAC. And then you have, obviously, MVP of the SWAC tournament was Dante Horn. He continues to do his thing, putting in 25 points last night, getting it done different ways. But a lot of that game, second half, was the defense, particularly how they were able to get on the boards and slow the big guy down and just frustrate him in some of their ways. He got his points, but he had to work so hard for it. Charles?
Yeah, no, about a quick correction going back to baseball, that Southern Florida A&M series that was down in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I thought it was Tallahassee. No problem there. One thing else, I did want to be remiss if I didn't do this. This Tuskegee's Reginald Ruffin named NACDA, NACDA, if you would, Athletics Director of the Year at the Division II level. Kudos for him, Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics and Athletic Director Reginald Ruffin, for being awarded that. Big news for him in terms of what he's getting able to do. Savannah State baseball, they did beat D2 baseball power, University of Tampa. They did do that, so it's something to keep your eyes on. We plugged it here on the show to open things up and actually
And
show
Albany State is
the last
ranked.
pitch when they ranked them out. Huh?
Yeah.
Albany State is ranked.
Yep.
Regionally
Top
ranked.
25
Yes.
rankings in these regional rankings, so that's big to continue to see that. So we'll keep our eyes on baseball. You know how we are. We excited about baseball around these parts, so we want to make
Red River Athletic Conference member Texas A&M Victoria beat Texas Southern this past week, midweek game. So.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Put up 20 runs. Yeah.
Huh?
They put up 21. They beat Texas Southern 20-14.
That's on the softball or baseball?
That's baseball. That was
Baseball.
Pitching optional.
Yeah.
It was a rough pitch.
Now, when they had the 20, did they decide to go for 2 and the defense held them on the 2?
Felt that way.
Oh boy. With that being said, let's call it a night, gentlemen. Great information, great baseball week. Great HBCU week. A lot of things on the calendar. As we start to close out springs, we do have outdoor championship baseball and softball. Be interesting to see what that looks like as things come down the door. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and today AD Drew. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattacavil. That's Threads. Facebook and Instagram, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1. On Facebook, YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Of course.
Big Mike.
Lecture.
AD Drew.
Dismissed.
Dismissed.
There you go.